And welcome to another episode of the Tar Heels Insider Podcast. Once again, I am your host, Grant Chachere, joined here by associate beat writer Jeremiah Artacho. Recovering from last night. In terms of the heavy workload we had to do, it was a great job by everybody on the staff. Of course, we had two new beat writers. Well, we had two new beat writers on the staff, of course, with Corey Davis. Corey was on the show yesterday, and Sienna, was working the press box for the first time yesterday. She'll be introduced on the show sometime in the coming days, and also her work has already been up on the site, so make sure you go check that out. Also, shout out Jackson McCurdy, our photographer, for all the great photos he took yesterday. We got to figure out a way to get them uploaded because Voltax, for some reason, is kind of tacky when it comes to uploading photos, but he took a lot of great photos, and we're going to get that uploaded on the site as well. I mean, just a great overall effort yesterday from the whole crew. And also a great overall effort by the Tar Heels. North Carolina defeated Richmond 41-6. They did not allow a touchdown for the second consecutive game. The last time that it happened was in 2012. Just a great overall performance by the defense. And then, of course, the offense. They were able to run the ball effectively. They were, especially with Damon June, or he goes by Juju. North Carolina was able to rush for 193 yards. And if you take away the sack yardage, they would have ran for over 200 yards, which would have been the first time this season. Damon June had 14 carries for 148 yards and a touchdown. And he averaged 10.6 yards per carry. And it just seems like he has earned the number one job at the running back spot. I mean, I think Bill Belichick said that last night. But the passing game still needs some work. Gio Lopez was 10 for 18 with 119 yards and 2 touchdowns. Not the best overall performance. Actually, you can make a case that it could have been a drop-off from last week's performance in a sense. But either way, so he threw for 2 touchdowns. He ran for 40 yards and scored on the ground for the first time this season. I mean, overall, a great performance for the Tar. Even the special teams did good. So, I mean, just a great overall performance for the Tar Heels. Yes, it is Richmond. Yes, it is the FCS team. But for a team like North Carolina that's had to deal with so much negativity, this is the best possible outcome for North Carolina because you want this team to build confidence over the next coming weeks. Because next week you got to go against UCF, and they're a very good team, Jeremiah.
Oh, yeah, UCF is going to be a tough opponent, especially on the road, inside the bounce house, as I've said in previous podcasts. But this UNC team is finding its stride on the offensive end with Gio Lopez and Jordan Shipp's connection with its 2 touchdowns yesterday against Richmond. And then Damon June, I mean, what else is there to say? I tweeted out that he should be the starter moving forward for UNC. I mean, I feel like that's no question given his performance the last 2 games against Charlotte and with Richmond. I mean, dude's explosive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and look, if you look at his PFF numbers, you can say, well, they're in the 70s, and honestly, I think they should be much higher. But that's why I say PFF grades are subjective. I mean, I'm going to release an article tomorrow. It could be today, it could be tomorrow, about the PFF grades. And Damon June, I thought could have been in the 80s, but, PFF subjective. And which is kind of wild to think about because he had 14 carries, once again, 14 carries for 148 yards with 10 and average 10.6 carries, 10.6 yards per carry. He had 118 yards after contact, which was 8.43 yards after contact per rushing attempt. He also caused 4 missed tackles. And he also had 3 runs of 10 or more yards. The 50-yard run he opened up the game with. Not opened up the game with the second carry. He had 50 yards, which allowed North Carolina to score his first touchdown. Well, no, it was a field goal. So his first points of the game led to a field goal, but still led to his first points of the game, the magical opening drive. But we'll talk more about the coming drives because almost all the drives are pretty magical, as Jeremiah said in his his article earlier this week about the magical open drive, which is a hell of a title for an article. But he also had a rush of 18 yards, and he also had that 45-yard run, the touchdown run late in the game. But really on the 50, let's go back to that 50-yard run because we were kind of I think people have been looking for creativity in the run game And interesting enough, on that 50-yard run, Damon June was in slot. He was actually at the slot position, and he motioned out, got the handoff from Gio Lopez, and it really was supposed to be kind of a run that was designed for short yardage. It just happens so that he's so explosive that he turned it into a 50-yard run. Really should have scored, and even Jordan Shipp messed with him at his press conference, saying like, "How'd you get caught from behind?" But just not only we're talking about the improvement of the run game over the course of the last 2 weeks, but Damon June just adds a different element to it because of explosiveness.
Yeah. I mean, looking at the stat sheet, Damon June had 14 carries, and excluding Gio Lopez's 11 at the quarterback position, the second running back, Davion Gauze, not a knock to him, but he only had 5. But my point being is that Damon June was heavily relied on in the run game, and I feel like, as I mentioned moments ago, he should be continuing to do that moving forward as a eventual starter, as he did yesterday. So Damon June, a revealing story for this season for underneath Bill Belichick in his first year at the collegiate level. I mean, he's a freshman. He's from North Carolina, played again in front of his friends and family. I mean, he's familiar with playing in Keenan Stadium. I mean, yeah, he's a great player for the Tar Heels, and there's nothing more that they could ask for him. But as I mentioned, consistency, not just from him, but the whole team moving forward.
And by the way, I just want to point this out too. So Damon June's 50-yard run was not only the longest rush of the season, but is the longest rush by a freshman since Amarion Hampton, who ran for a 58-yard run against Georgia State. It is also the first time Damon June has also led the Tar Heels in rushing for the second straight time, of course. But he's also the first true freshman to lead the Tar Heels in rushing in back-to-back games since Michael Carter did so in 2017 against Western Carolina and NC State. And then also it's the Juju's 148 rushing yards are the most by a freshman running back since, once again, Michael Carter, when he had 157 against Virginia on October 14th, 2017, in a 20-14 loss. So it was a very, very productive day from Damon June, and they're going to rely on him heavily against UCF. I think he's going to get more than 14 carries. But the reason why he got a lack of carries, too, is because Richmond, in the second half, held on to the ball for a really, really long time. In the second half, Richmond had three drives that went over 6 minutes. Their first drive of the game went for 6 minutes and 20 seconds. And the fourth quarter, they had 2 drives of 8 minutes and 13 seconds and 7 minutes and 54 seconds. I mean, they hold the ball a really long time in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter. So we really didn't get to see we probably wish we'd see more reps from not only from Damon June, but also Gio Lopez in terms of the passing game. So not really I wouldn't even say it was like 312 yards. Yes, you only have 312 yards, but a lot of that's because there was 4 or 5 times in that game where North Carolina started in Richmond's territory. So they didn't really have much yards to work with anyway. And I think they converted on 2 and 3 of them. And then, yes, the passing game still needs to work, needs some work. But the good thing is that Gio Shipp and Jordan Shipp and Gio Lopez are both building chemistry. I mean, Jordan Shipp even said in his press conference that he considers Gio Lopez to be one of his best friends, which is crazy because Gio Lopez, remember, didn't come on campus until May or June? It's only been around here for a few months. So, I mean, they've been building chemistry. Of course, we've already kind of seen that chemistry build with Chris Culliver. And, of course, Javarius Green has also had some flashes as well. But just overall, what do you have to say about that passing game? What you think it needs to work on? But also, you're kind of seeing you're seeing not only Jordan Shipp take over that number 1 role, but I think in the last 2 weeks, we kind of see Chris Culliver take on the number 2 role. And Javarius Green maybe be that possible number 3 spot. But also, Jake Johnson. I also have to mention Jake Johnson. Jake Johnson had 3 catches for 30 yards. And he actually was the highest rated offensive player according to PFF. So we've kind of seen him emerge in the passing game as well. Something that he really hasn't been a part of the passing game since he was at Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there wasn't any big magical drive yesterday in the passing game in that sense against Richmond for UNC. However, between Jordan Shipp, Chris Culver, Javarius Green, Jake Johnson, UNC has a lot of pieces to have big games in the passing game. It's just all about that continuing to build chemistry, and especially the play calling by Freddie Kitchens. I feel like that should be mentioned as well. Just continuing game by game, just seeing what works, what doesn't work, and then just continue to whoever the players are on the field fit with the play calling and the personnel. So the vertical game in terms of the passing, the long balls, I feel like UNC succeeds at those pretty well. And then Gio Lopez even mentioned yesterday during the press conference about Jordan Shipp, how he can do everything. He has a lot of love for Jordan Shipp, and then their off the field chemistry as well is translating onto the gridiron. So Bill Belichick has a lot of pieces on the offense, and it's just all about execution and consistency. Those two things will take them the distance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And also, just want to mention too. I mean, like other games, it was the one magical drive, and then there was a lot of stalling. However, in this game, the first 4 drives of the game led to points. The first drive was a field goal. Of course, the second drive was a touchdown. That was, I believe, that was Gio Lopez's first touchdown. I got to pull it up here. It's in my notes somewhere. I got to look through this thing. It's on the second page. Yeah. So it was the 29-yard pass from Gio Lopez to Jordan Shipp. And then you had the field goal by Reese Burhoff. And then, of course, Gio Lopez's 1-yard rushing touchdown. I mean, the first 4 drives led to points. Remember, the game against Charlotte, 6 of the 9 drives that North Carolina had, they didn't have a single first down. So, I mean, yes, I know it is Richmond. But Richmond also did have the number 10 defense at the FCS level. Well, number 9 defense at the FCS level. I mean, that's still a very, very good defense at that level. And I was wondering how North Carolina would respond offensively. And I thought they responded pretty decently. You wish you would have thrown the ball more, thrown the ball a little bit better. But you converted on the opportunities that were given to you. Yet you forced 3 turnovers, 2 of which led to touchdowns. Of course, the other one of the turnovers was the Makai Bayor 62-yard scoop and score. But you were able to convert on Richmond's mistakes, and I'll take that, man. I mean, shooting Richmond's second or third drive of the game, they had a turnover on downs, and that also led to points too. I mean, what we wanted North Carolina to do was score when the opportunities were given to you. And that's exactly what North Carolina did. Well, my bad. It led to a field goal, but still, it led to points, right? It led to points. And there's the 3 drives that then lead to points were the 2 straight drives that led to punt after you scored the second touchdown, which was the Gio Lopez rushing touchdown. But then that led to 2 straight touchdowns. Well, one was, of course, the scoop and score. But then the other one was a passing touchdown from, once again, Gio Lopez to Jordan Shipp, which was set up by a 22-yard punt return by Will Hardy. And then, of course, the last drive that North Carolina had, it was an interception by Torrey Newkirk, which, by the way, was really interesting because the fact that it was a Torrey Newkirk and not Bryce Baker it's kind of surprising because of the amount of hype that Bryce Baker had coming into North Carolina. And, of course, we're not allowed to go to practice anymore because it's during the season. Of course, during the season, practice usually – even when I was covering LSU, we never went to practice. We weren't allowed to go to practice. We had player interviews and stuff like that, but we didn't have – we weren't allowed to go see practice. So that's kind of standard. But we didn't see – much during the fall camp because they didn't really allow us to. And, we didn't know how the quarterback depth chart was, but if we were allowed to go in the fall camp, we probably could see, okay, this is what Tory Nurkirk is doing better than Bryce Baker and whatnot. So for a lot of us, it was a shock. And it wasn't even just the fans; it was the media as well. But that's near or there. We're talking about the progress of the offense moving forward, and it was pretty forward, I guess you could say. And it's really important to get these guys' confidence up once again as you go against a UCF team that it seems like they're improved. But there's also another thing that kind of concerned me though, and that was the pass blocking. The pass blocking really wasn't as good as it was the first couple games. And there were times where Gio Lopez was running for his life. They allowed 2 sacks, which is the first time of the season where they allowed 2 or more sacks. And you're going against a UCF team that is has one of the best pass rushes in the country. That is a very scary situation for North Carolina because, yes, the running game is coming along, but the pass game has not. And, yes, there is chemistry between Gio Lopez and some of the receivers, but it seems like Gio Lopez is not there yet as a quarterback in terms of at a confidence level to the point where we can rely on him to make big-time plays throwing the ball down the field. We know we can make those plays running the ball, but you're going against probably the best defensive front you've seen since TCU, and we already know how that ended up against TCU, against that front seven.
Yeah, UCF is going to serve UNC problems, especially if they aren't able to contain the pass rushers on offense. I mean, Gio Lopez may have to rely on his legs and scramble out of the pocket here and there throughout that game on the road. I mean, that environment is going to be pretty insane for the Tar Heels. And just for Gio Lopez himself, I mean, he's making strides in many aspects. I mean, from the TCU game, he's made a couple of good passes, big passes, and then he's also against Charlie made a lot of runs. So he's shown flashes of what he can do. It's just a matter of doing it on a consistent basis and just being able to do it at a high level, especially against better competition coming up with UCF and then back at home against Clemson in a few weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just kind of give you a quick preview of UCF, since we're already talking about UCF. UCF has a top 25 offense. They are 39th in passing offense. They average 491 yards per game. They average 259 yards per game through the air, 39th, as I just said. They're 18th in passing yards per completion, which is 14.4 yards per completion. They're 26th in rushing offense, averaging 232 yards per game. They're 10th in yards per carry, averaging around 7 yards per carry. They're also 28th in scoring offense, but then also defensive side of the ball. They're 8th in passing defense. They're 36th in total defense. They're 41st in sacks, average 2.5 sacks a game. 13th in scoring defense, 17th in turnover margin, 5th in red zone defense, 41st in first downs allowed, and they're 11th in tackles for loss. So this is a very good defensive front and also very good defensive backfield for UCF. However, they have allowed they're 103rd in rushing defense, and they're allowed 162.5 yards per game. But a lot of that came from because NC started running the ball a good bit in garbage time because the game was already over by the third quarter or even midway through the second quarter. But then if you look at the first game, they went against a Jacksonville State team that is one of the best rush attacks in the country. And we know they like to run the ball with their spread option attack. So it'll be very interesting to see how North Carolina attacks UCF in that game. Especially with this newfound rushing attack they have discovered, especially with the emergence of Damon June. So Damon June, of course, will, as I said earlier, will be a huge impact for this game against UCF. Jeremiah, you're in very much agreement. And I think just moving forward, this is UNC has a great opportunity next week. After this Richmond game, I feel a little bit more confident about UNC going this UCF game. I don't know if they're going to win, but what I do know is I feel a little bit more confident about this team. And it seems like Belichick, just from hearing the press conference, he seems like he's more confident in this team moving forward because I feel like he's a better eval of this team, especially in the defense, right? You've seen the defense improve over time. We've seen the running game improve over time, especially with the emergence of Demond June. The offensive line, yes, it does need some work. It has improved over time. The receiving core is still trying to find its way, but we do know Jordan Shipp's your number one guy. We do know that Chris Culliver's your deep threat. Javarius Green seems like he's that number 3 guy. And then also Jake Johnson has emerged as another receiver in that passing game as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Bill Belichick definitely feels a lot better about this team since the TCU game, since the blowout, the 34-point blowout that they suffered on national TV in front of fans, in front of all the media. However, that's beside the point.
Millions, by the way, I just remember millions of people saw that game. It wasn't just the people in the stands in the press box. It was the 4th or 5th highest rated game of the weekend. It was the only game on that night. So that made it even more embarrassing. Everyone saw it.
Yeah, that was the only, to Grant's point, that was literally the only game of college football that night. So all eyes were on UNC and TCU's matchup. But that's in the past now. And for UNC to continue moving forward, I mean, it stands at a record of 2-1 with wins against Charlotte and Richmond. And then they have 2 big opportunities to get even more significant wins with UCF and then with Clemson against K. Klubnik and Dabo Sweeney. I mean, it's going to be interesting, but I feel like UNC has a chance to change the narrative. I mean, going into during the offseason, ever since Bill Belichick was hired, all the hype, and then everything seemingly felt like it went away with the TCU loss, but maybe they can get some of that back over these next few weeks and get some big wins and increase its record to maybe 4-1.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a possibility. And by the way, I just like how you pronounce Dabo as Dabo. I think he deserves that pronunciation after now they've fallen 1-2. Really, they should be 0-3. They should have lost against Troy last week too. Clemson does not look very good. Guys, I told Jeremiah this yesterday. I said, look, I was right about one thing. I was wrong about another thing. I was right about Georgia Tech being a dark horse for the ACC title, and I was also really wrong about. Oh, actually, there's more like 2 things. I was really wrong about Clemson winning the conference, and what's his name, the quarterback, K. Klubnik being the ACC Player of the Year. And those 2 things have gone to the wayside. Of course, it's still plenty of time for Clemson to come back and win the rest of their games because it seems like it will be such a Clemson thing to do is to win the rest of the games. You can still go to the ACC title because the conference it's kind of eh. But I don't know the rest of Clemson's schedule. I don't know off the top of my head like I do North Carolina's. But what I do know is that North Carolina could be 4-1. I mean, that's not a – and I'm still kind of bullish on this North Carolina team. But if you're a North Carolina fan and you're feeling really, really down on this team, just remember you could be Clemson right now. Clemson had national title expectations, and they're now 1-2. Yes, and a lot of stuff can happen for North Carolina. But it's a possibility. You could go 4-1. You could beat UCF. UCF is a winnable game. It's not an impossible game to win, although I don't think they're going to win the UCF game. It's a very winnable game for North Carolina. And then Clemson, they're having a whole lot of issues. They're really having the same issues that North Carolina's having. I think their defense is like a legit top 10 defense, but their offense is struggling just as much as North Carolina is. So it's not a far-fetched idea that North Carolina could be 4-1. As I said, like their schedule is still easier than a lot. They avoid Miami, they avoid Florida State, they avoid Georgia Tech, they avoid SMU, they avoid Louisville. If you look at the games of the rest of the schedule, they're winnable games, and I don't think they're going to be UCF or Clemson. But they're very winnable games, and you have North Carolina has a great opportunity starting against UCF after how they looked at Richmond to really right the ship after such an embarrassing opening night game against TCU. If they beat UCF, I said this. If they beat UCF, I said this on the podcast before. I think it may even written about an article. If I haven't, I'm going to write about it this week. But if North Carolina defeats UCF in Orlando, their chances of going to a bowl game. I know you don't want to hear bowl game and whatever. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure how people felt about Belichick coming in. They're like, oh, we're going to go to the playoffs. I don't know, right? But what I do know is that I said this was a 7-8 win team. And if you beat UCF, the chances of UNC becoming like a 7 or 8 win team go up even higher because there's 3 winnable games. And conference, three like easy games you can win. It's Wake Forest, it's Stanford,
Mm-hmm.
and you can make a case as Cal. But Cal's looking really good. Cal's looking really, really good. I mean, that's the thing. It's kind of weird because the ACC is kind of a dog eat dog conference. You don't know which team you're going to get that week. You know, we literally saw that when Boston College looked great against Michigan State. They were throwing the rock around. And then last night, they actually lost against Stanford. And Stanford's terrible, by the way. They're not very good. And Boston College lost against them. So just because, it's an easy game, whether you're North Carolina, whether you're Clemson, whether you're Miami, you're going to get the best of your opponent. You just don't know what's going to happen. The ACC is such a wild card that you just don't know what's going to happen. You just don't. And I think these last few weeks proved it, especially last night. We had a lot of teams from the ACC, like Virginia Tech. The news hasn't come out yet, but that's what I'm saying about North Carolina. Not only would you want to be in Clemson's situation right now with them being 1-2, do you want to be in Virginia Tech's situation? Do you want to be in Duke's situation? All 3 of those teams I just mentioned had high expectations going into the year, and they all have losing records, including Virginia Tech. And they're on 3. And like I said, the news hasn't come out yet, but Brent Prime could be fired in the next 5 minutes. He could be fired the second we stop filming this. I'm not even joking. Because they just lost against Old Dominion yesterday, and they got ran out their own building, and they're 0-3 right now. So if you're a North Carolina fan, it could be much, much worse. I think everyone's doom and gloom because of the TCU game, but just remember, it could be much, much, much worse.
Yeah. And to put it simply, TCU is a good team. I mean,
they're a possible playoff contender. They're, I think, a very good team.
Yeah. So the loss to TCU, I mean, yes, it wasn't really as competitive as probably fans would have hoped, or probably maybe just all the theatrics leading to the game and the explosion of the Chapel Hill game day experience, whatever the case may be. But TCU, to put it simply, is a very good football team. And yeah, UNC just lost. They got outplayed. I mean, they got out coached. Sonny Dykes had a very well executed game plan for his players along with his OC and DC. So yeah, hats off to TCU, but UNC still has a lot of hope. I mean, good point, Grant, on how the situation for UNC could be much, much worse. Yeah, for all we know, I mean, UNC could be 1-2 or 0-3. I mean, just like Virginia Tech. So yeah, UNC has long ways to go, but the path is still getting started.
Yeah, definitely. And that's going to wrap it up for today's podcast. Just recapping Richmond and also, talking about the road ahead. I mean, probably spent this last second half of how it could be much, much worse for North Carolina. But make sure to go follow us on Twitter. For me, it's my last name, first name. For Jeremiah, it's just Jeremiah Artacho, same ordeal, first, last name. Also, make sure to go check out our website, Tar Heels on SI. si.com/college/UNC. You'll find all of our content over there. Everything is free, so you don't have to worry about paywall, subscription, or anything. All of our stuff is up there, including all of our stuff from last night's game, but Saturday afternoon's game. There was Saturday's game, just to make it simpler. So make sure to go check all that out. Of course, we'll be uploading articles throughout the day. I got a couple of things I want to, either by the time this podcast gets uploaded, either I will just begin to start typing up my articles for a couple of my articles of the day, or they're already going to be published. Same thing with Jeremiah. A lot of great stuff on the site. So make sure to go check that out. And also, we have a Facebook page as well. Make sure to go follow our Facebook page if you haven't done so already. North Carolina Tar Heels on SI. So that's all you got to put in the search bar. It should be one of the first things to pop up, if not the first thing. But yeah, we'll see you guys later. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I know for Jeremiah, the Panthers are on right now, of course, and then also my New Orleans Saints are on right now. and we're going to lose against the San Francisco 49ers despite them losing some of their best players for the game. But in the meantime, you guys have a great one, and we'll see y'all later.
See ya. Have a good one.